Is there been a lot of action on trades or calls going back and forth, or is that pretty much?
Yeah, you know, the trade thing, I know everybody talks about wanting to trade up, trade down. There's always, I've had 4 calls over the last 2 days where we're picking. But I truly, you don't know, you know, and I wish I could say, yeah, we'd love to trade out, but I don't want to trade out if there's a player that falls to us. You know, an example like a Delvin Cook last year, then we went and traded up. So our philosophy on the trade, I think last year we traded up twice and down 7 times. It's not planned. It's more reactive to what's happening and how the names are falling off the board, and also, you know, what the depth is at that particular position. So if it's a deep class at a particular position, and one of the areas that we want to try to address, and we can move down and still get that player, sure, why wouldn't you do that? Because you get the benefit of having another draft pick or adding another potential player to your roster. Or if it's a significant situation where we felt last year twice on Friday, you know, I think we went up to get guys because we felt that strongly about it. Not only with Dalvin Cook, but I think last year when you seen that center guard area start making a run, we weren't going to sit back where we were picking in the 3rd round, and we were pretty aggressive to go up and get the Pat, the guy that we coveted in the draft last year.
I'm betting it's a cinch you'll make a move. You'd love to make those moves, and you make them.
How much you betting, Sid?
I bet.
How about Murray's gift certificates? I don't have enough of them.
Hey, Rick, when you're as aggressive in free agency as you guys were this year with Kerr, with others, does it take the pressure off at all going into the draft about, you know, you filled some big needs already before you get to draft day?
I don't think it never takes the pressure off. I think what it does is, especially where we're picking this year, which I would take, you know, 2 spots lower, but I would take this area every year we possibly can get it, is that it gives you a lot of flexibility on what direction you want to go. I know, you know, everybody in the mock world and the experts out there are saying it's O-line, 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 but when you look at your roster, you have to look at, okay, where are some other holes that you're going to have to fill? And if you look at, you know, that's why I'm looking at the 2019 roster as well. Guys who are not under contract. What if there's a significant player that's there at 30 that could potentially fill a need? You know, may have a role this year, but definitely fill a need in the future. So you have to weigh in not only what your needs are this year, but I think we're in a position, especially at 30, that, you know, as everybody thinks that we're locked in an offensive line. That's absolutely not the case. I think right now, the way our draft board's developed, we have 5 different positions that we can go in any direction, depending on how the board's falling Thursday night.
Would the
consider the offensive line a deep class?
I think in specific areas, I mean, I would say the center guard area is a pretty deep class. I think there's some offensive tackles in this class, but I think it may drop off a little quicker than the center guard area. So, you know, those are the things that are your weighing. And if Sid's prediction comes true and we do move out of the 1st round and you have 3 or 4 options, you know, in a particular position, and you can get that same player in the 2nd round, but also have an additional pick, why wouldn't you do that?
Let me ask you something about the 3 players you need to sign after this year, Barr and the other 2. Do you have enough money to sign those guys?
Rob said we do. No, we're you know, we're working on that. You know, we're looking. It's a process, you know, and where the money's come in. I know we've tried to plan. I don't know where the next potential guy is. We'll continue to work through that. Usually the trigger point is right before training camp, is when we've got a lot of extensions done. So we'll monitor it, but that will not have any indication of what direction we go in the draft. We're going to, you know, you want to draft good football players is what you want to draft, and that's what we're going to do. I think the other thing that you have to be aware of is, as we're going through these meetings, and you know, you're looking at players, and there are a lot of good players, but he may be a good player in a different scheme. And I think the communication and that we have with the coaching staff and the personnel staff, and we sit there when we're group studying. In fact, offensive, defensive coaches, I gave them a pot of players to look at, and that are graded relatively in the same area, but we may go in a different direction than people anticipate, because maybe that player is going to be a really good player, but he is going to be a really good player in a different system than the system we run. So that's where you have to be on the same page with the coaching staff on understanding the physical traits, what that player is going to be asked to do, whether from an offensive scheme standpoint or a defensive scheme standpoint.
What's something, Rick, if you made a decision on whether Mike Remmers will stay at right tackle, or whether he could be a guard, and then how does that potentially influence how you might draft on the offensive line?
Well, Mike Remmers gives us some flexibility to go either direction if we do go offensive line. If you go with an interior player, then Mike Remmers, we feel, can play right tackle for us, and he can play at a winning level. If we go tackle, Mike Remmers can slide inside a guard like he had to during the playoffs, and he played winning football at guard. So when you have guys on your roster that can play multi-positions like that, that's what gives you the flexibility to go with best player. And that's what we look for a lot in the draft too, is guys that can play. You know, Pat Elflein, for example, played guard, and then he was a center. So a lot of these guys were looked at. Can these tackles play guards? Can these guards play center? Can these centers play guards? Even on the defensive side of the ball, we do the same thing. So, but when you have players like that, it gives you the flexibility to go with best player available on your board.